there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. In the first hour of the broadcast, I'm going to give you content, information for better sex, more money, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice, more strategies and gambits for having it all. The second hour is what I'm most excited about. It's when I get a chance to chat with you. Yes, you. Where you can call in, talk to me, ask me questions. And if you say the secret word of the day, you could win $5,000 cash. At the very least, if you're the most interesting call of the day, you could also win 10 ounces of freshly minted Marshall Silver 999 Fine Silver. All of that and more. Brand new Mercedes-Benz sedan or SUV up for grabs. My personal Rolls-Royce Phantom up for grabs. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information about its release coming up. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. I'm Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker.
Let me bring in our hypnotist, Marshall Silver.
It's Marshall Silver, ladies and gentlemen, the world's fastest hypnotist.
Hey there, hi there. Hey, it's a glorious day filled with love, health, opportunity, and potential, and a day of solar eclipse. So a whole lot of things going on. I'm Marshall Silver, glad to be with you on this edition of Marshall Silver Live, episode number 26, actually, from our launch. Very excited to have you with us. Today is a unique day. And the reason it's unique is that today we've got somebody on that we haven't touched this topic yet. Yet it's especially important to you if you're a marketer, if you're promoting anything, if you're running a business. And it's an area that most people don't really take charge of. On today's show, we're going to be talking to the email paramedic, Troy Erickson. And today he's going to share his secrets behind generating over $100 million for his clients since 2019 through his company, emaildeliverability.com. mailgenius.com, emaillistmanagement.com. He's known once again as the email paramedic. Troy and his leading email list management agency have revolutionized email copy and deliverability, little tangle there, crafting campaigns that break through the noise and convert into sales. So whether you're a business owner that's seeking to amplify your email marketing efforts, a copywriter looking to hone your craft, or you're simply fascinated by the potential of digital marketing to generate wealth, Troy's journey and insights offer invaluable lessons in achieving success in the digital age. Please, a nice big Marshall Silver welcome to Troy Erickson. Welcome to the show, my friend. You are muted.
All right, there we go. Thanks for having me. So excited, I forgot to hit the button.
That's okay. You're an email guy. It's all different.
That's right. It's a little bit different.
Hey, welcome home, man. Where are you coming to us from?
I'm in Tampa, Florida. I've got Tom Brady right here behind me to celebrate. So it's a wonderful place to be.
Well, Tom Brady, one of my favorites, that's for sure. Hey, we have a lot of marketers down in the Tampa Bay area. What do you suppose that is?
I don't know. I think it's warm and it's sunny, and a lot of them are probably like me. They realized that they were living somewhere that they didn't need to live, and they work remote, so why not be where it's sunny?
I agree wholeheartedly. So tell me a little bit about your history. You're a young guy. You early 20s?
Yeah, I'm actually 28 now. It's crazy to me. I never thought I would be 28, but I'm finally in between a kid and adult, as I like to tell myself.
You've been doing email marketing for how long?
About 2019. So I started in Facebook ads. I mean, I can go into the full story if you want me to.
Yeah,
but,
go right ahead.
Okay. So I was actually a college baseball player, and like many young athletes, that's what I thought I wanted to do my whole life. I thought I was going to play professionally. Didn't quite work out that way. I had a condition called the yips, which is like a mental. I mean, you're probably aware of that, where you just basically think too much in your own head and you can't do simple motor skills anymore, like throwing a baseball. So if you're a pitcher, kind of bad to have that. So that all kind of came crashing down. Thankfully, I found a Facebook ads course while I was in school from a guy named Grant Cooper. I took it, and believe it or not, it was a great course. Made a lot of money. Unlike a lot of people, they'll tell you courses don't work, but they do if you follow them. So I learned Facebook ads. Everything was going great. I had a couple clients. I managed to not get a regular job after college. The only issue was one of those clients, one of my two, one day was like, "Hey, we need to fire you." I said, "Why?" And I went and I looked in Facebook Ads Manager, and there wasn't an increase in lead costs and nothing looked different. And so I said, "No, you're going to tell me why." And they didn't really want to at first, but I bugged them enough and they're like, okay, fine. So there's nothing really wrong with the ads, but our emails are going to spam. So I said, okay, I have a little bit of an email experience from my other client. Let me sign in. Let me fix this for you for free. And when it's solved, then I'll go ahead and start charging you again. Is that okay? And it was a corporation, so they actually had to go check and see if it was okay for me to work for free and like sign into their email backend. But I did that, and over the course of that summer, they went from 13K a month email revenue all the way up to 51. So it's almost a 4X just by doing a few simple things for them. So first was obviously getting them out of spam. Second thing was sending more emails because they were concerned that they were emailing too much and they were going to annoy people, but that wasn't the case. And then the last thing was just like making the emails more personable instead of transactional, right? So treating people like people because that's who's on your email list. So ever since that day, we've gone on. We sold over $100 million now that I have a whole agency just doing email services for people. So writing emails, making sure they hit the inbox. And we also train people on how to do that for themselves, for their own business, or for clients. So it's been a long journey since then, but it's been a fun one.
You said something in there about the client being concerned that they're going to email too much. And I think that's a concern across the board for most people. And let me qualify that. Most unsuccessful email marketers are concerned that they're going to email their list too much. And the epitome of that example was when Perry Belcher and Ryan Dice came and visited me at my home in Vegas, asked me how big my database was. I told them. They said, "How often do you mail?" I said, "I don't know, every couple of weeks." And they said, "You don't have a database." And I said, "What do you mean? How often do you mail to your list?" They said 2-3 times a day. And I knew they did because I was on their email list. And I said, "Aren't you worried that people will opt out of your list?" And their answer was completely frame changing to me. They said, "The people that opt out aren't our customers. So we don't care. We want them to opt out, actually." And
Yeah.
that was extremely profound to me. You, from that lesson, apparently, went and took your entire business very specifically down this niche where you've specialized in assisting people in making their emails more effective, besides not mailing enough to their list. Can you give me some other examples and other reasons that people don't succeed with email marketing?
Yeah, for sure. So the first thing I'll say is congruency. So for example, let's say somebody joins your email list and it depends who you are. But if you're a local business, it's pretty straightforward. They just want to hear more about what you do. But if you're like an online business owner, a lot of times you have a very specific offer, right? Maybe you're coaching something. Maybe you're teaching people how to do a specific thing, right? So that specificity that they opted in for doesn't carry over to the email list for a lot of people when they set it up, right? So if I'm teaching you, for example, to keep it very basic, 3 simple ways to make more money with your online business, and then you get an email from me about anything else, there's no congruency, right? Whatever they opted in for needs to exactly match what the emails are about, at least at the beginning. And if they don't respond to that, then you can switch it up and try similar things. But a lot of people, they just keep it very vague and very bland, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And it's really hard for people to do this unless you've got a great copywriting background, is be able to go in somebody else's shoes and see it from their perspective. It's just like a wonderful skill that'll help you out so much in life in general. But That's one thing that a lot of business owners struggle with, is just there's no congruency. And then the last one, of course, deliverability, right? So you can send a lot of emails, you can make them written, so well, you can have them 100% congruent with what the person opted in for, but if nobody sees them, it's like you're not sending them. So those are the three big ones that we tell people about.
How do we, and this is a personal experience. So my database, not huge, over 100,000, about 140,000, not big, except companies and platforms like Keep, Infusionsoft will throttle you back and not let you send emails to people that don't open your emails in a specific amount of time. What strategy should I utilize to revive my database? Because these are buyers. These aren't people that opted into a free PDF. These are people that have actually bought from us who then aren't opening emails. And I don't know whether they're not opening emails because the emails are ending up in spam because we hadn't mailed to them very often, or they're not identified, they're not white labeled in the inbox. What is somebody like me who's got a substantial base of buyers? What do we do to revive that list?
Yeah. So the first thing, as with anything, if you want to improve, you got to know where you are right now. So the easiest thing to do, there's this thing called seed testing. So basically these are test inboxes, right? And what you do is you just create a new inbox, right? So a very simple version. So there's like seed testing companies where will give you like 60 inboxes to send to. You send one, email to 60 different addresses. They'll tell you like where you inbox for all of those. But if you want to make a simple one that you can do yourself at home, that's almost as powerful, is you just go to Google and you type in open new Gmail account. Very simple, right? Takes 30 seconds. And then you send a test email from your marketing software, your ESP, to that new address. And you just see where it lands. Did it land in the main inbox? Did it land in the promotions tab? Or did it land in spam? And that's how you figure out where you stand right now. And make sure you do it for a few different emails, because just because one email lands in one inbox doesn't mean that the rest will. So that's one way to check it. Also, there's a way in the top right corner of most inboxes. We'll just talk about Gmail for now. There's the three dots in the top right. You click that, and then there's a drop down. You hit show original. And then it'll tell you if you're passing the technicals. I'm not going to go too far in the weeds with this, but there's three main things you have to have authenticated in 2024. It's SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. So those are like three nerdy email things. I'm not going to talk more about them right now, but if you're not passing all three of them, it'll tell you, and you need to get that fixed. So that would be the first step. If all that stuff looks good, then yeah, you just really want to make sure that you're emailing people who, have opened within the last 3 months or so. That's a good number to start with, because if you email somebody, for example, every single day for 3 months and they don't open, they're probably not going to be a customer. You can try to revive them. You can send them emails that say like, hey, remember me, and just to talk a little bit about what you do. But you don't want to mail that list too often. You want to focus more on the people who are opening, who are engaging. And that's why it's so important to mail often, right? Because if you only email once every 2 weeks, your drop off is going to be substantial. But if you're emailing every day, then you have a lot of chances for people to open and engage with your content, and then you can, not have to remove them.
Where do you suppose email marketing is going? Obviously, everything has changed. There's going to be a lot of regulations and stuff regarding AI and email marketing and that kind of process. What do you think AI's uh, movement, or what do you think AI's impact is going to be upon email marketing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I see it from two different perspectives. Again, thinking from other people's shoes. So there's two groups here. There's the marketers, and then there's people who receive emails, but they're not marketers. So marketers are starting to get savvy, right? Like if you send me an email written by ChatGPT, there's certain words and phrases that I see, and I'm like, AI wrote this. And if I know that AI is writing all your emails, especially if you have a personality-based email list, it turns me off a little bit, because now I'm no longer getting you. Like I signed up because I like you, and now there's a machine writing these emails for you. Unless you do a great job, marketers can tell a lot of the time. Now, if you're a regular person, it's a little bit harder to tell because you're not a marketer yourself. You're not using AI every day. So it's a little easier to use in those type of markets where you're not selling to marketers. But at the same time, you have to be mindful of the fact that, yeah, it might be faster, it might be easier. And there's some people who are really good at writing emails with AI, but you don't want to lose that sense of personal touch. You don't want to lose, again, the reason that they opted in. If you start reading your emails that are written by AI and you're like, I'm kind of losing the point here, or it's starting to sound like everybody else out there. I'm losing my uniqueness, which is the reason why people signed up. Then that's something you might need to reconsider. But yeah, AI is definitely kicking out some of the lower level copywriters who are in it for the money and people who have lower skill sets. And then the people who are using it wisely and using it to study and research, those people are actually getting better. And it's less about using AI and more about hiring somebody who knows AI like the back of their hand, if you're going to go that route. So basically, it's widening the gap between the really good people and the people who shouldn't have been in this in the first place.
And how about you? Are you using AI, or to what extent do you use it?
Yeah, for me, it's mostly like research. And if I were to open my chat GPT right now, it's whenever I don't know how to do something within a software, it's like tech and integration is mostly what I use it for. And a lot of times if I don't do a lot of the writing for our clients anymore because I have a team. So they'll use it for research as well, especially in new markets. And if I'm helping my team on our Thursday team meeting, and I'm not sure about something, like I'll use it to look up and kind of study an audience and learn how other people think. And it just opens up this whole new world that Google doesn't have, because Google, it'll search the internet for you, but you can't quite talk to it like it's a person. So I'm mostly using it for tech and integrations. Our team's using it for a lot of research on some of the simpler emails that we've been able to template and like match clients' voices. We'll use it a little bit, but no, we're definitely not using it 100%. It's a really tricky thing to find the fine line of where you want to use it for research and like how much writing you actually want it to do.
I think that a lot of people don't do anything with their email marketing, or they do very little. It's one of those things that's kind of down the chain. I'm gonna, run ads. I'm gonna generate cold traffic. I'm gonna do all these other elements, except they often overlook email marketing, even major organizations. What do you suppose is that reason? Do they just not think that there's much opportunity there, or do they not know enough about it? Are they sick and tired of their emails all going to, spam, or being unopened? What is that?
Yeah, I think it's just that it's not sexy, right? So there's a reason that every time, at least that I'm on Facebook and, I'm a marketer, of course. So I would say probably 60 to 75% of the ads I see are about ads in some way, shape, or form, or
Right.
growing your audience or getting new people on board. But when it comes to email, you're talking about people that you've already acquired. And there's not that sense of newness, like, oh, I have a new thing to sell them. I can find new people. I can, grow my audience and my reach, because that is just human nature. And people are always wanting to like talk about themselves and get themselves out there more. But with an email list, logically, it makes way more sense to tap into that list because those people already know you. You don't have to pay to advertise to them again, and they're right there, and you can test new offers and new hooks and, book calls with people, ask them questions, get replies and feedback. And there's so much you can do with people that are going to close at a way higher rate for whatever you're selling. But it's just one of those things that's human nature, and it's impossible to overcome. People will always be excited about something new over something that is like, I have to go learn the software, and you know, it's just not as shiny. So that's honestly my opinion after all these years, and I can't see that changing. But that's why our audience is pretty high level. They're people that have been in marketing a while, and they know that they need to start emailing their list.
Talk to me about headlines. What headline do's and don'ts? What headlines? What type of headlines work, and what type of headlines are going to guaranteed get us put into the spam file?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that there's any that are guaranteed to put you into spam, just because you've got like so many factors at play. Like there's so many reputations. So there's this thing called Google Postmaster where Google will tell you if you are a great sender. So if your reputation is high, if is it medium, is it low, is it bad? Same thing for your IP address you send from. It'll give you that same information. So the better your reputation, the more you can say, and you're not going to get marked as spam. But the bigger thing with subject lines is congruency and does it make sense at all? Because let me talk about it this way. So the way that I've always understood it, even when I was like learning copy from Stefan Georgi and Justin Goff, is like I want to make sure that I'm including as many of these elements as possible in my subject line. So like specificity, the promise that I can help somebody with, the time frame that they can achieve a result, curiosity, and just like general benefit, right? So those are some of the things that you'd want to include as much as possible to have a really specific and curious subject line that people are going to open. They're going to click the links in the email and they're going to, go buy from you. But what I see a lot, and I was helping my mom because she has a small like family hardware store back home, is they'll send me like an email and say, hey, can you take a look at this? And the subject line is like April newsletter 2024. It's like, well, there's not really a benefit or a reason for me to open that. Like I know what month it is. So why should I open this, right? Instead, you should tell me something really interesting or curious or specific to me that I want to open. So when I see that in my inbox, I'm like, oh, I have to read that because I'm just too curious. So that's probably the biggest mistake that I see is there's just too much generality. And a lot of people think that it's clever to use like really like random words and phrases that they think are funny or catchy as their subject line. But it's like, does your audience really resonate with that? Or are they going to take, the 5 minutes or less that it takes to read your email? Do they really want to dedicate that to you? Or are you just typing in random words that you think sound good?
Is there a way to revive the list? Like I was talking about, I've got a list that Infusionsoft has throttled me down and said you can only mail to these people. Is there a way to recover those ones that haven't been opening? Are there other services that I should be using, or where do I go?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's not too many ESPs that will actually stop you from emailing somebody unless they've unsubscribed on their own. Infusionsoft, I have had a few issues over the years with different clients where it's like the older context they won't let you touch. So I would probably not use Infusionsoft for that reason. It's also called the Confusionsoft, rightfully so.
For a
And
reason.
yes, for a reason. So I don't really like it for that purpose. And I'm somebody that isn't like, I don't really care that much which software you use, but there's a few of them that are just too confusing or clunky, or they have like bad reputations. So like Infusionsoft and MailChimp are a couple of those. But beyond that, it doesn't really matter too much what software you're using. As far as reviving people, it's more about like being a good sender overall. So you always want to make sure that you're mailing your most engaged people and you've done the things that we've talked about prior to this, and overall you have a good reputation. And then if you have a good reputation, every once in a while you can go tap into that disengaged audience. So let's say you have 140,000 people, which isn't small, by the way. I know you said it was small. It's all relative, right? For most people, that's a huge list. Like my list is not even that big. So let me ask you this. How many of those subscribers are currently active?
7,000-8,000.
Okay, gotcha. So if you've got 7,000 or 8,000 people that have opened in the last 30 days, and let's just say for easy math that you could email up to 100,000 and then the other 40,000 opted out. We'll just, for easy numbers. So if you normally send a broadcast email to, I think you said 8,000, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the 8,000 people on my inactive list who are the most recent engagers. So even though they're inactive, I'm going to grab the 8,000 most recently active. And then I'm going to send an email to them maybe today. That's like, it just says from Marshall and it says, remember me. And then the copy is very curious. It's like, hey, I'm Marshall Silver, remember me. And then you can remind them, just with a few bullet points about who you are and what you do, maybe give them a freebie at the bottom of the email. And now if that email inboxes, right, and a lot of people open it, those people will now be added back to your active list. So you don't want to do that too often because that email is not going to get great numbers. But if you do it, let's say, once every 2 weeks or once a month, assuming that you're doing a lot of good sending just about every day or at least a few times a week, that good sending will balance out any potential, poor engagement from that email. So that's how you can slowly revive it, just by tapping into the disengaged list every couple weeks or every month, and then you won't harm your overall reputation.
You are primarily email marketing. Do you guys do any other similar type marketing like SMS or something like that?
Yeah, so the funny thing is, a lot of people don't really believe in SMS that much either. Now, there are a lot of e-com stores that'll do it. Pretty much every time you opt in, they'll ask you for your phone number as well. But like coaches, consultants, uh, they need to step up their game with SMS too. So that's one thing that we're trying to push a lot of our clients to get on board with. And we're like, hey, once a week, SMS will gladly handle for that for you. It's not that hard. And for SMS, it's more about really just like sending a very personalized text once a week to try and get a response rather than just blasting links out. Because, in an email, you can, email them more often. I don't want to text them every day. But in an email, it's just so much longer and I can say so much more and send so many more. But in a text, if I'm just sending you a link after like one or two sentences, it's really hard for me to build up enough context and trust for them to click that link and buy something. So that's something where I just really want to, make sure that people are trying it and that they're asking for replies and chatting with people before they try to sell them something. So that's one thing that I highly recommend. Another thing that's gotten really popular lately, other than advertising, which will always be popular, is cold email. We've gotten so many requests for cold email because, again, that's about growing your list. It's about reaching new people. So we've gotten a lot of requests for that, and we're about to launch our cold email service, which is in beta testing right now for myself and a few of my private mentees, and it's going really well. So it's going to launch this month, and there's going to be a lot of people that are very happy that we finally have a cold email service.
And by cold email, you mean people just buying lists that they're unrelated to?
So with cold email, yeah, the first step is figuring out like, okay, if I want to reach somebody new who doesn't know who I am, what's the best offer that I could present to them? There's, a lot of different things you could do there, and a lot of cold emails are really, really bad. So this is where you have to take the most like thought process, right? So if you give me an hour to chop down a tree, I'm going to spend the first 50 minutes sharpening the axe, right? So the same exact concept here. I'm going to think about the offer, and I'm going to think about how could I create a message that makes sense to somebody who doesn't know me. I'm not going to do, like bland, boring copy. I'm not going to write it the same way that I'd write an ad or a warm email. And once I have my messaging and my copy down, then yes, what you're going to do is you're going to go find a list. There's a lot of different places where you can get this list from. And this is completely different than a warm email list of opt-ins. This is a list of, prospects, people that you think might be a good fit for your service. And then you're going to put it through a cold email software, for example, like Smartly or Instantly, something like that. I'm actually coming up with my own, which is why it's really exciting. But yeah, that's where your list comes from. And it's not opt-ins, but it is people that you can, you can cold email anyone legally. You just can't add them to a warm email list of opt-ins. So that's the difference. It's more like you're trying to convince strangers, almost like an episode of Impractical Jokers. So it can be very difficult if you don't know what you're doing with cold email. But if you do know what you're doing, it can work very well.
Are there business types that email marketing is more effective to than others?
Ooh, that's a good question. A lot of people have asked me, they're like, what is a business where you wouldn't recommend sending daily emails, or maybe you just do weekly or monthly? And I thought about that and I was like, gosh, that is a tough one. And the answer to that would probably be like local businesses that have one offer, or like
Like a local
seasonal.
mortuary.
Yeah.
Yeah, do
Local
you need
service.
our services yet? Do you need our services yet? Hey, you probably need our services by now.
Yeah, I suppose so. But even for those type of businesses, like let's think about a restaurant, just for example, because it's like it's not seasonal, but it's not something you're going to go to every day. And they have really just one offer, which is their menu. And
Food.
sure, you could say each item is like an offer on its own, but I'm not going to go to the same restaurant every day. But if this
Right.
restaurant emails me a few times a month with like a new menu item or like an interesting story that happened over the past month, or somebody was celebrating a very special birthday, or like somebody, reached 100 years old, or just anything kind of interesting that's happening, or something new that might be tasty. Like those are really like, those are things that I would read if it was a good local restaurant. But if you're emailing me every single day, that's really not going to work as much for me. And at that point, you're better off being like a cooking company, or like somebody that's going to send me recipes, and you should sell me a cookbook instead. So it's like a lot of restaurants too, right? They'll open up a second business, which is online. Not a lot of them, but some of them, right? It's like they have their main business, which is brick and mortar, which would, their family started 50 years ago. And then they have a modern one, which is where they'll be more aggressive and do more modern marketing strategies. But yeah, that's always an interesting question. And I think my answer is just like local service businesses.
What do you think as a percentage of a business is a good target for somebody to say, I need my email marketing generating this much revenue. I need, my other cold outreach generating this percentage. What do you think for most businesses is at least an initial target for them to say, this is standard. This is what a business should be generating from their existing list?
Yeah, so there's a couple different benchmarks with that. So a lot of Klaviyo users, so like e-com people, their goal is 30% of their revenue should come from email. And there's another industry standard that's just a rule of thumb, of course, that is you should generate $1 per month per subscriber. So if you have 10,000 subscribers, your email list should generate $10,000 per month. However, it kind of depends on what you're selling too, right? So if you have a $25,000 mastermind program, like so many different online coaches do, and your email list is 10,000 people, you could probably sell at least a few of those per month. And if you sell, a few other things that are less expensive, you could generate 100 grand per month off a list of 10,000. Like it's definitely possible. It also depends on, some other foundational principles about business, right? Like you can't just give everything in your business to an email marketer and say, go solve all my problems. You have to do things yourself too. It's just how it is, right? So if I'm your email marketer and you only have one offer to sell, and I go out and we have a great first month and we sell a lot of that offer to people, but you're not running ads to get new people on the list, or you don't have another offer to sell these people, then your revenue is going to fall off a cliff, because you got to always be working on your business. You can't just put it in somebody else's hands. So those are the industry standards, but I always like to do way better than industry standards. So those are my answers.
We talked about it when I asked, are there headlines that I shouldn't use going to guarantee me in the spam folder? What's the opposite question? What's the answer to the question? What are some top subject line, the subject lines that work for people to get emails to open?
Yeah, so the thing that I would do, because this is very specific to every different person or every different business, is you have to find out what your audience's like hot words are, right? I can't just say, like, for example, one subject line that used to work really well was quick question. I think we've all gotten that email by now to the point where we know it's like a cold email or a marketer or somebody who's just trying to get us to open, right? Or the people just used to put like your first name or something, but those things are kind of overused now. So if you want to find out what that is for you, and you may already know the answer to this, is there's going to be a few things that every audience can't get enough of. It's like you can talk about it till you're blue in the face, and they still ask you questions about it. So those are the types of things that you could put in your subject line to, get people to pay attention. Now, if you're not sure what those things are, then what you can do is send a reply email. So basically a one-line email where you email your list and you say, hey, first name, what's your number one question about blank? Reply and let me know, Troy. So you fill in the blank with whatever it is that you do. Or you could say, what's your number one problem with blank? Reply and let me know. And people will reply back with their problems and their questions, which are the exact things that you should be talking about in your emails or in your subject line. So that's kind of how you could dig into your audience and find out how you can help them. And then just take those topics and put them in your subject lines, put them in your emails, put them in your offers, and just really utilize the resource that you have. You have a list of people, like real humans, who will reply to you and give you answers to the questions that you have for them. and you can use that information to help them and sell more stuff.
Do you ever have clients that you just don't want to work with?
We usually don't sign them on as clients. So no.
What are things? What are red flags that make you go, man, we're just not a fit?
So if I am on a call, and I don't take the sales calls, I have a team, but if somebody's on the call and we're very clear with our expectations, right? So we're going to send an email every day. We're going to build out your automations, and we're going to make sure your emails hit the main inbox. If you start asking for way more than that, if you start asking us to do things that are outside the scope, if you are just very persistent in asking question after question after question after question, and you're starting to ask for guarantees and things like that, it's like, I don't really want to start working with all these people who are just asking for so much before they've even paid $1. Because you know that you're going to get more of that afterwards too. Now, early on, it's kind of hard to say no to that because you need money when you're starting out. But once you build a real business, you can be more selective with who you work with. And the best clients are the people that are like, hey, this sounds great. Here's my card number. Sign me up and let's make some money. And they just want to roll on with it. And that's that.
How does your business work? If people have never worked with an email service, how does it work? Is it a monthly retainer? Is it a percentage of sales? Is it bonuses based upon opens or deliverability? What is it?
Yeah, really. I mean, there's a lot of people who do both of those. So for us, typically, we have a setup fee in the first month on top of our retainer, and that basically makes sure they're working with very serious people. So again, I like to be selective. Afterwards,
So how much is the setup fee?
Okay, so the retainer plus the setup fee is $9,000 in the first month for our highest end service. So that's of people obviously who have money to spend. They really understand email. They're excited about it, and they have trust for us, right? Those are the kind of people we like to work with. And afterwards, it's $5K a month flat, so it's very transparent. They know what they get every month. We are always talking to them in Slack or email or wherever we communicate with them, coming up with new ideas. And it's like we're a marketing partner almost, not just email marketers. So that's how we work. Also, I'm a big proponent just of having cash up front. So if you collect rev share, that's at the end of the month. And for me as a business owner, collecting all of that after the month and then dealing with the headaches of that, I just didn't want to do it. I was like, I want our service to be so good that people will pay upfront for it, understand what they're going to pay, very simple model, and just be the guy for email. So that's what I've done. That's what I'm proud of. And we have a great team. So our prices are expensive and proudly so.
What kind of expectation could a client have? So it sounded like what you just said is there's a $4,000 setup fee and then a $5,000 a month retainer, correct?
Yep.
What kind of an expectation can a client have? Can they expect to see a result that would be a positive return on investment in the first 30 days? Or are you likely going to tell them, nah, we're not going to see anything for 90 days?
Yeah, so that again depends on the client, and that's why we have a call, right? So a lot of people like to call it a sales call, but it's also about like finding out if we can help and how much we can help. So we talk to a lot of people, and I'll just give you a couple examples. So if we're talking to somebody who's like, hey, I don't even send emails right now. And, I think I sent one like a month ago and it went to spam. And I really need some help getting my offers out there. And, oh, by the way, I have, 48,000 people on my email list. I'm like, all right. So I don't even think I need to try and convince you that you're losing a lot of money every month. They can just sign up, and it's a pretty simple ROI that they can see. Now, if I'm talking to somebody,
so you didn't quite finish that thought though. Over what period of time? Somebody's like myself. I'm established. I've got a decent list. I've even got some that are still opening. I'm not completely dead in the water, but I'm not mailing a lot. So I say, hey Troy, I can write you the check for $9K today. How soon before I'm likely to see a positive return on investment?
Yeah. Tell me about your offers, or what are your price points?
We have price points ranging from free all the way up to 2,000 once to 2,000 a month to $70,000 on the upper end.
Yeah. So based on our conversation today, do you think I could at least make $9,000 in revenue?
That's the question.
Yeah. So looking at it, how often have you pitched your $70,000 program to your email list?
We don't ever pitch the $70K offer to the email list. It's only been pitched in live events.
Well, then maybe you're one email away of getting
Ah,
people into the room where then they can be presented with the $70,000 offer. Or maybe there's people that have been to your events that you could email and say, hey, I meant to mention this to you at our last event. We actually have this offer, which includes X, Y, and Z. Would you be open to like a quick call about that? And then you could sell them on the phone. So there's a lot of ways that you can make more than $9,000 without just saying like, okay, here's a course for 2,000 or a monthly service for 2,000 a month and so on and so forth. So those are some of the things that we figure out with people on the call and like build the path to an ROI together. Does that make sense?
yep.
Okay, cool.
And is that pretty much the standard question somebody asks during their exploration call?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, I mean, it's a fair question, right? It's like you want to make sure you get an ROI. So that's what we do. We work together on the call and we figure out how we can actually get there and how we can not just get there, but like well exceed that. So it's just really like I don't know what to call it, right? Some people call it sales call, discovery call, a triage call, whatever. At the end of the day, it's a call. And the goal of the call is to figure out if it's going to be a good relationship between both parties. And if it is, we'll do business. If it's not, that's okay. Because sometimes there's people, they see me nerd out about email marketing and they're email nerds too when they're doing 90% of everything correct. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to be really honest with you here. You've got pretty much everything set up correctly. So maybe I could reduce the setup fee a little bit for you because your deliverability is perfect. It's not going to take us as much time. But I'm just going to be transparent. Like if you want to take email off your shoulders so you have more time to do other things, then this might be a great investment for you. But given that you're doing 90% of what we do already, and sure, maybe you write a little bit better copy, but I don't think this is going to be like an absolute grand slam for you unless you want to save the time. So I'll tell them that. I'll be transparent. So there's different people, there's different buyers, there's different businesses, just all depends. And we have a conversation about it.
I noticed off topic, you've got a post of a Jaguar, a black Jaguar with a license plate BR4 DY. Is that your car?
That is my car, yes. So
Man, you're a fan, baby.
I am a fan. I am a fan. So the funny thing, let me tell you a side story as well, is when I first put that license plate on my Jag, I'd post it and I would like hashtag Tom Brady. And there was this one guy that would comment on it. And I was like, is this one of those Instagram services where if I hashtag Brady, he just comments and, it says like, I left you
So
here.
tell me it was Tom Brady himself.
So it was actually Tom Brady's manager. And he kept commenting. So I DM'd him one day. I was like, hey, I don't know if this is like a service or if it's actually you, but I just want to say thanks for commenting on the picture of my Jag with the Brady plate. And he was like, haha, very nice. I showed that to Tom and he was laughing. And I was like, that's cool. That's cool. You never know how close you are to your hero. So it was
Well, hell, if you get a tattoo of somebody's name on your forehead, they're probably going to like you.
Yeah, maybe so. But at some point it gets a little creepy. So I don't have any tattoos. I'm not planning on getting any Brady ones. So don't worry.
Good. I just thought that was cool. Where do you want this to go? Are you building an agency that you can scale and then sell, or what are your plans with what you're doing?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And that's the answer.
You realize you've said that about every single one of my questions, right?
I know. Apparently that's one of those things where I don't realize that I'm doing it. But thank you for pointing it out.
Thank you for making me so fascinating.
That's a fun question. That's what I'll say this time. But yeah, I like to experiment. So in addition to our services, like we do have an agency, we have over 30 clients. We also have a certification program. We've trained definitely over 500 people by now in email marketing. So that's been a lot of fun. We're getting into cold email. We've done ads for a couple of clients. It's kind of, we're seeing if we want to do it, if we just want to stick with email because focus and like, when I go to sell the company one day, if it's a generalized agency versus an agency that owns the email space, that affects valuation. So these are things that I think about. And I'm trying to figure out like how many services I want to offer versus just like nailing down a few of them, getting really good, having an awesome referral program in place and things like that. So it's always an experiment. I'm having fun with it.
Where what kind of volume is your company currently doing? You said you had 30 clients on the email side, so must be doing something.
Yeah, so in addition to our certification program, and sometimes people hire us for just deliverability projects and other things, in total we do about 2.7 million a year.
And are you doing a live events? If you've already certified 500 people in email marketing strategies, are you guys also doing live events?
No, I've done a couple free events for content purposes, and that is something that we've considered for the future. But right now, I've just, especially in the past several months, I've really taken uh, the the time to think about what I want. And for me, I'm leaning more toward the agency because I just really like working with businesses. I like being serious. I like high level conversations, and the agency is just speaking to me more right now. I know it's really easy these days to have a coaching program, and it's like I've kind of done both to an extent. And it's just really hard to keep up both because, like I said, you have to keep making new offers all the time. So lately, the agency has been where my interest has gone. But that's not to say that we won't do a big event with a lot of people.
Well, if you decide to do a big event with a lot of people, I would love to assist you in making that both successful and, more importantly, profitable, because that
Right on.
is our wheelhouse. And it sounds like you've got the email side of things down extremely pat. So good job on you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You got a couple of 2 comma awards behind you. Tell us about those awards.
Sure. So the first one actually over here was for one of my very first clients back in 2020 when the world shut down. We built a funnel for Dylan Kivo, and he was doing maybe like 40 grand a month at the time, and we took him to 200K a month just by building a funnel. And that's when I was doing like ads and email and a little bit of everything, and still just trying to like hone in. That was right around the time when I was making the switch over to email. So that was great. That was like the first one. And we just got it a few months ago because he didn't realize that he was eligible for one. And then the one on the other side over here is for our deliverability offer. That was our first click funnel to hit $1 million for getting people out of the promotions tab and out in the spam folder. And I figured that my setup behind me looks pretty cool. So I put it all there along with a few other mementos and things from my personal life.
Yeah, it certainly says Troy Erickson. That's what it says.
I appreciate that. I like that. It does scream Troy Erickson in my personal.
Yeah, that's a good thing. You said something, and you said it in passing, except it's extremely important. And I don't think enough people realize what this is. Last night, I do a lot of my meditation while I'm going to sleep. I kind of like to keep myself in and out of that state of theta right before I go to sleep. I have some of my best ideas. I wake up and I write them down. And last night, I woke up right as I was in twilight, and what I wrote down was a 3-part question. I was thinking about people generating revenue when they're not generating revenue. What can they ask themselves? And you said coming up with new offers, and so I was thinking about that last night. The question is, what do you sell? Who do you sell it to? I mean, first of all, what's the offer? Where's the target rich environment? And then finally, how do they buy it? What's that process of them handing you revenue or money or the equivalent for whatever it is you hand them? How important is it for a company to be consistently asking what's the new offer, or what's the different offer?
Yeah. So if you're actively running a business, it's a little bit easier because let me just give you an example. So we've only done warm email up until this point. Like I've mentioned, we're about to launch our cold email offer, which has been in the works and beta testing and like software building since last September. So about 6-7 months now. And the reason I decided to do that and put so many eggs in that basket is because my sales rep will tell me every single day, hey, these are what happened. These are all the calls I had today. Here's what happened. 2 people today were a better fit for cold email. So I didn't sell warm to them because I wasn't a good fit. But if we had a cold email offer, these people would absolutely have bought it. And that happened so many times in a row. I was like, okay, like we need to have a cold email offer, and I need to try it for myself first to make sure it works. So that's what we're wrapping up right now. And that's how I knew that we needed to launch it. But yeah, just talking to your customers and your potential customers, like that's really all it comes down to, whether it's a call, whether it's in person, whether it's a reply email. and just figuring out what they're struggling with, figuring out their problems, their questions, and their goals. And if you know those things, you're unstoppable. You can make an offer. And then all you have to do is basically send an email to your list or make a post on social media and present the offer to people, be pretty simple with it, and have them book a call so you can talk to them. And then once you kind of talk to people in that setting, you'll figure out what their objections are, like what they kind of want with the service or product and what they don't want. And you can refine it more. And then maybe eventually you can do a self-service depending on the price point, of course. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways to talk to people, but you just have to talk to people.
You said that the cold email is a new offer. Is that something that's incorporated? Is it something that you'll give to your existing clients, or is that something that they'll purchase as an add-on, or how do you see that being?
Yeah, that would definitely be an add-on. So it's a completely different service. Like, sure, it has to do with email, but like, when you're working a warm email list, you're inside of an ESP. So you're working there, you're emailing the opt-ins. Whereas cold email is like, you're talking to people who don't really know you, and you have to keep that list completely separate. So yeah, it's a completely separate service, and we have different team members who are on it, who are in there setting the calls and, obviously writing the cold emails and sending and managing the whole process. So it has the word email in it, but it's definitely a completely different animal.
And what will you sell that for?
That's a good question. I think we're going to have different tiers, because what I've noticed is, I said it again, by the way, another good question.
I know you did. That's why I grinned so big.
So there's people who are just starting out, who are wanting to get into cold email because they want to send cold emails and get clients. They're, freelancers. So we'll probably have a package around like 1 to 2K a month for those people. And then we also talk to people who, get on, they're like, hey, I do $1 million a month and I need to do more outbound prospecting via email. So if you want higher volume, that's probably going to be in the 5 to 10K a month range. It really just kind of depends, because really there's no upper limit. Like if you want to send a gazillion emails a month, like I'll come up with a package for you. It's just not going to be cheap.
What should a person on the cold email side of things expect? What's the industry average for an opt-in for somebody that's added to their list? If I'm emailing to a cold list, the intention obviously is to convert them into a warm lead, get them on my email list, get them opening my emails. What would be an industry average of the cost per lead to that new email list?
Yeah, so that one I look at it a little bit differently. So for most people that I want to send cold emails for, it's people with a high ticket offer. And my objective is simply to book calls. And yeah, when they book a call, they are added to the warm email list. But for the most part, I'm just interested in book calls. So it really depends on the offer. And that is one where sometimes it does take more than 1 month to see a result. Like I have used other people's cold email services. The first one, I had a really bad experience. The second one so far, I've had a good experience. And what I'm trying to do is compare them to mine and just kind of see where that benchmark is. And that's why we're not quite out of the beta testing phase yet. But yeah, it really depends on the goal, because there are some people, they just want to blast out a link where somebody clicks it and they go and they opt in, they get added to the warm list. You can do that. You just have to have the right type of offer for it. It has to be very curious and very broadly appealing. And so far with me and my beta testers, we don't have anybody with that type of offer. It's more like services. And typically, there is a little bit of luck involved, because when you mail so many leads, you have to find somebody who's looking for that service, or it's just good timing for them to learn about it if they're not already looking for it. So that's why volume is so important, because if you have good volume, you're definitely going to come across the right people. And so it's a little bit of luck, a lot of volume, and really good messaging that takes time to dial in.
So it sounded like what you just said was the best kind of an offer to a cold email list is something substantially more broad. Was that what you just said?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the targeting too, because you just have to think about what you're selling and what kind of list you could get. Because there's ways where I could, for example, I could target, if I had a client who wanted to help CPAs have better systems or something, I could find a list of people who use online softwares for CPAs And so I know that that's like a hyper specific list. And then I could present something very specific to those people. But if I have an offer that is like very applicable to almost every business owner, so like more leads, more bookings, things like that, then I don't need to be as specific. And, like in a best case scenario, if you had a broad offer with amazing messaging, then you would be unstoppable because almost every single person would want your offer and would be very intrigued. But a lot of times those things work inverse of each other because it's impossible to be very specific to a very broad group of people. So it's always about finding the medium in between, but we're working on it. So we're only going to sell this when we're ready and we're confident that it can get people amazing results. So if I were paying for my own service, I would be ROIing. We're closing about 1 to 2 clients a month. And we're working on some new messaging right now because one of my beta testers is booking way more calls than me. So I'm going to start using his strategy for myself.
I like it. When I did Passion, Profit, and Power, the infomercial that I produced in the 90s, everybody I took it to said it's too broad. Passion, profit, and power, relationships, wealth building, emotional, mental, physical, spiritual well-being. And I said, yes, it's broad on purpose. And they said, no, you want a relationship product, or you want a money product, or you want a health product. And I said, no, I want a product that appeals to everyone. And as they say, the rest is history. We did $120 million in the first year with a show that cost me 10 grand to produce. And it's unprecedented. It's unheard of. It just doesn't happen. And again, it's that idea. Before we wrap up, any resource or any direction people can go to find out more about you guys? I know I'm ready to book a call.
Yeah.
So where can say that again?
I'll send you the link after this. But yeah, for most people that want to learn more, maybe have questions about email, I actually, you can go to my website there, troyerickson.com. The calendar is right on the homepage. Or FAQemail.com is another one if you want to opt in and just basically I took this document of all the FAQs that people ask about email and I put them on FAQemail.com so you can go opt in and get them. So those are the 2 places where you should go.
Well, you're awesome. I appreciate you taking the time out of the day. Yeah, I definitely want to chat with you on our own use. That's how excited I am about what you do. So thanks for being my guest, and I look forward to meeting you in person very soon. Maybe even doing a live event together.
Right on. Sounds good. Thank you, Marshall.
All right, brother. Have an awesome day. Great guest, great show. As I said, today's show is a little shorter. We will not be taking your calls. Same time, same place tomorrow, though. I'm Marshall Silver. Make it an awesome day, and I'll see you on the other side. Hey there, moguls. It's me, Marshall Silver, your personal millionaire maker. Getting very excited about my brand new show coming up 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm going to broadcast live to you. I'm going to give you content, information, emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual power. I'll also invite some of my cool multi-millionaire and billionaire friends onto the show to give you more direction, more advice for having it all. All the knowledge to get everything you want and so much more. All you got to do is log in to the show to get information coming to you live from the bunker right here at Studio Money. So stay tuned.